dig up that old fossil.
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
It's been a tumultuous week in the world of Star Wars with, there's only been one real story here, that Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, has been fired by Disney. Now, I don't really know the details of what she tweeted or what the issue was, but apparently it went back a ways, right?
It's more of a passive firing. It's a we could have rehired you, but we have no plans to do so. That's how I fully expect to be fired from my job.
Okay, good to know.
It'll be vague, it'll be unclear,
and it'll be on Twitter.
And it sounds like something that Severance is not involved with.
True, but I don't think that
it sounds more like we had the option, but we are not. Thank you for the grateful offer to be in future seasons of The Mandalorian, but we don't have at this point a plan to accept your generous offer. That's what it sounds like.
It feels more like a soap opera thing to do, where somebody gets killed off all of a sudden and written out of the script very quickly. Now, again, without getting into the real reasons why she was fired, it did remind me a little bit of the James Gunn situation, where they fired James Gunn, but then they rehired him after probably talking to him about it and realizing that he's not that same person. Now, but that was based on tweets from years and years and years ago. Gina Carano was based on tweets in the last year, just stuff in the last 12 months that she'd been saying. So I guess whatever. It is cancel culture. It does suck. I'm not like a huge fan of like, just kind of firing people arbitrarily for their views, even though I might not agree with those views, but I think some of them were pretty harsh.
The last one was comparing, I think she said, being a Republican in the present day climate, and she compared that to being
in the
Jewish
Holocaust
during the Holocaust,
which
of course is not which is that's an abhorrent comparison, we could all say, but I think if somebody said that in the classroom, we would do a teachable moment. I think we would do it. And I think one time I did have a student say something, not that, but say something, down that path, let's just say. And I remember I just said, thank you for showing the class what freedom of speech looks like. But never forget that everybody else has the freedom to not like your views. Okay, don't forget that. And then it went away, and that was the end of that. And we all moved on. And I think that's I always think of there's stand-up comedians who always go, I can say whatever I want. I have freedom of speech. And then they realize later that everybody else has the freedom to tell them that they hate their jokes too. And that, there's it's a two-way street.
Freedom of speech doesn't mean everybody's going to like what you say. You're allowed to say it, but a lot of people are not going to like what you say.
It's not a fax machine where you just send it out there and go, I have freedom of speech.
Nobody's going to get that. Nobody's going to get that reference.
It's two-way dialogue. That's what I'm saying. It's two-way dialogue, freedom of speech. So I'm kind of like you in that. But you know what? Folks my age generally will err on the side of freedom of speech. They'll generally say, and the old saying is, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it.
Right.
And I think that's true. And I think younger people, that's not the case. I think younger people we're used to an online world now. Well, all of us are used to this world, but young people have only known a world where if you disagree with somebody's feelings, you drum them out, or what somebody says, you drum them out.
That's cancel culture. That's what that is, right?
Right.
And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't agree with what Gina Carano said. So what happens now? So she's been fired. She's moving on to other things. She's already announced she's got some kind of film deal in the works, and she's still working. Blah blah blah. I don't know.
It's that conservative guy.
It's really sketchy. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a legit thing.
I can't even remember his name. Actually, I did remember it, but I won't say it. But he's kind of like hacky guy. He's a hacky guy.
It's another conservative thing. It's like it's like a conservative. It's like Breitbart or something like that, where it's like a very conservative organization and studio, whatever. So fine, she's going to be fine.
This could have, I mean, but it's my understanding that Lucasfilm had spoken with her already about like, okay, here you go. And I read something that said Lucasfilm had even written an apology for her, which she then said no, but I like that, you know, nobody announced that. So how true is that? It could just be whatever, but you know, there's all of that stuff that you go through as well. And I think there's one other element here that I'm not sure, that I don't know how we deal with in today's culture. But what if she is legitimately a little bonkers? You know what I mean? Like, what if she's a little zany?
Like Roseanne Barr.
We've got, you're right. When we've got people in politics now, particularly in the US, who we see who are kind of going down that path to wacky land. And in some cases, it seems like it's an act. But how do we know? And in other cases, it really seems like maybe something's not right there. Something's gone wrong somewhere along the line. And I don't know. I think part of what makes this difficult is none of us know what you're supposed to do in these circumstances. And particular, now we're all on the line. Now what are we supposed to do? You can't just have a conversation with somebody either. Much harder to do.
We are gonna talk about the ramifications of this going forward, like what's it gonna mean for the series and that kind of stuff. But first, I want to flag this. It's not really clickbait, but it's an interesting article related to this story.
What? How? What are you talking about? Huh? What? Goodness gracious me.
Ted Cruz, the salacious bee crumb of Congress, defends Gina Carano, which I think is hilarious. I love the idea that Ted Cruz is salacious crumb. He is kind of. And
if you didn't see the news yet today,
I saw that.
Things are bad in Texas.
That's right.
That jackass got on a plane to Cancun.
That's right. Yeah, right? No kidding. Texas is under the deep freeze right now. They're all like recovering after a huge storm, blizzard, which they never get. And then he's like, I'm out of here. Congress for Texas.
On the flight to Cancun. So that's who we're dealing with, folks. Let's start there. And by the way, that's true. And forgive the pun. It's truly the tip of the iceberg for that guy. It really is. We can go back a dozen years and just chronicle all kinds of stuff. But okay, so he's in her corner. Boy, lucky her. That actually makes things worse.
Well, it does, because here's what he said. He goes, and he's coming at it from, again, he's trying to make the Texas connection because she is from Texas. Meanwhile, he's abandoned all of his constituents who are suffering and freezing.
Nice.
Texan Gina Carano broke barriers in the Star Wars universe. Not a princess, not a victim, not someone emotionally tortured Jedi. She played a woman who kicked ass and who girls looked up to. She was instrumental in making Star Wars fun again. Of course, Disney canceled her. That was Ted Cruz's tweet about the situation. And I mean, honestly, he's not wrong about some of that, but I think he's kind of diminishing some of the other female characters that have come along in Star Wars over the last few years to just focus on her, right?
Yeah, and all, you know, she was only in 2 episodes of the last season?
She wasn't in a ton, and that's what I'm really wondering about is like how much will this affect the show, because they could easily write her out. Like she's a side character is what I was, or would you say she's a main character? Like how would you define that?
Well, I think in the first season she was more of a main character.
Yeah,
she was, you know, I was happy to see her in there again in season 2. She wasn't in there very much, and neither was Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Grief Karga.
Grief Karga.
Is that his name?
Yes. I saw his action figure at Walmart the other day, actually.
No way.
Yeah. They had the Black Series Grief Karga. They had Gus Fring's character. I can't remember his name. I remember one name but forget the other. Then they had Queel. They had Nick Nolte's Ugnaught. And those are the 3 figures I saw at Walmart.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know which figure you're never going to see at Walmart again?
Gina Carano is Cara Dune.
Right.
Well, but the thing is, they've already made a bunch. There's got to be stuff. They've got to put the stuff out already. There's stuff that's already been made in her likeness, right? That's out there.
It's already out there, and that stuff's. I'm sure it's already on eBay for inflated prices because they'll never produce them again. I mean, that's what makes an action figure valuable, is that it's never going to be produced again. So ironically, by canceling her from the show, you're making the existing figures worth more money. If I saw one at GameStop today, I'd probably buy it just because I'd be like, yeah, I better get in on this gravy train. But GameStop, how ironic, at GameStop. That's, by the way, Dan, that is where I do all my investing, just in case.
Well, it's and let's be clear, it is EB Games here in Canada, not GameStop. Yeah. It's a different.
Well, no, the one I go to is GameStop.
Oh, is it really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, at on Taylor.
Okay, I didn't know they had any of those here. I thought it was all the same thing. Okay, so, but the other thing that I've heard, and this is again a rumor, nobody's confirmed this, is that they might just recast her. Right? They could go ahead and do that.
I don't think they will.
Why not?
I don't think she's important enough. I do think that spinoff series, Rangers of the New Republic, was going to be her. I do believe that was going to be her. Now it'll just be Bill Burr. Cracking wise, it's going to be Bill Burr and those two X-Wing pilots.
Yeah, Kim's Convenience and Dave Filoni. Yeah. That's what it's going to be.
It's going to be Bill Burr in the middle, and it's going to have two X-Wing pilot on either side of him and him shrugging on the poster. What? How did I get stuck with these two?
What? Me worry? He'd be like the Mad Magazine.
So I think that was going to be her Caravision. I think Rangers of the New Republic was going to be her version of WandaVision, where she was going to be the main actor. And now I think Lucasfilm was thinking ahead and just went, okay, we'll call it Rangers of the New Republic, and we can make them any Rangers. If things completely go off the rails, we'll find different Rangers.
Yeah. Okay. You know? So they're not going to recast her. They're just going to drop the character.
I mean, she wasn't in very many episodes anyway. I think they were going to do the spinoff, and that would probably take her out of the Mandalorian anyway. I don't know. We have no confirmation of any of this, but I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, and really, they could, the way they ended the Mandalorian this season, it was pretty open. Like there's no Baby Yoda. They've wrapped that part of it up. They've wrapped up some other parts. So they could have just they could start with Din Djarin or whatever his name is, in a completely different place under completely different circumstances.
He's got to go to Mandalore.
Oh yeah,
he's going to Mandalore to become the king or whatever, to become the Burger King. He's like the Burger King of Mandalore.
Is he like Conan the Barbarian, where he's searching for his throne?
I'm searching for his throne. Is there a men's room around here? Anybody? Do I need a special key? The dark saber doesn't work on this door.
I was wondering, can you think of any other examples of characters who have been kind of abandoned like this? Like, we never hear from them again. You thought there was more to it than what happened with them?
You mean if they don't kill the character on the show, does anybody just suddenly? Oh, I think we've seen that before. We must have. Where you think someone's going to be a main character and they just kind of fade away.
Yeah.
I'd say, like how about the Armorer on Mandalorian?
It's
like she's a main character. She's going to set up the new Mandalorian thing, and she's going to help him out and give him new armor in every episode. And she's gone.
Nothing.
Season 2.
Nothing. Yeah, that's true.
That's only one example. I'm sure there's more. Oh no, he died. I was going to say Werner Herzog, but no, he died in the show.
No, he died. And I'm trying to think of other Star Wars, but even in other TV shows or films, I'm trying to think of examples of movies that were abandoned or characters that were abandoned.
Oh, I think so. I definitely recall going to movies to sequels and stuff where you're like, what happened to so-and-so? Like, where did they go?
I'm looking for characters who were abandoned. Top 10 orphan characters in film. Top 10
Tom
characters.
Sawyer. Tom Sawyer, number 1.
Oliver Twist.
That's true. Please, sir, I want some more.
No, forget it. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay. Well, I should have thought of this. I had this in I'm even trying to get more organized about the podcast. I put the stuff in notes ahead of time, and I had that in our notes, and I didn't actually look it up to see if there was any more that I could think of as far as characters that were. I mean, it doesn't. But again, you don't see this cancel culture. I guess Roseanne is the obvious example of it happening in television in recent years. For very similar to Roseanne, went a little off the deep end. She was tweeting very inappropriate things, and then they basically just wrote her out of her own show. They killed off her character, and they're continuing that show without her. It's the Connors. It's not Roseanne anymore. And I haven't seen it since. I don't know what it's like.
And I think the thing that's different these days is that we all have our own media channel. I don't know what's to be done with that, because I mean, this probably has application across all different kinds of jobs and everything else. And it's like, I don't know. There aren't really any rules about this.
Well, do you think
And
that Disney might have something in their contract saying that you're not allowed to tweet something controversial or anything like that? Is that something they might put into an agreement?
I think, one time I actually saved it because it was so interesting. They leaked Apple's what employees are allowed to do online, right, and everything else. And I read it. I remember thinking, this is a very common sense document that any employer could use. I remember reading it and thinking, how are they ever going to manage this? And when I read it, I thought, it's actually pretty good. Like, I thought they did a good job, and including things like, no, we want you to be online and to interact with people. Like, of course we do. Given that we want you to do that, there's just some things to watch out for, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think, but the only problem with that is it's only as good as people's willingness to go along with it, So, and I don't know. I don't know what the law says about that. I don't know. I remember one time at our college, the lawyer said, in your Twitter handle, put, these views do not represent my employer. And that's almost a joke now. That's a cliche now. That was like 20 years ago or something. And you're like, what? Of course they don't represent my employer. Nothing
They never did. They never did. No. Yeah.
And nor did they ever, were they ever confused that they might? Like there's no issue. And if anything, mentioning your employer in the profile is you don't even need to do. So I don't know. I think that's the problem. This is a perfect Curb Your Enthusiasm episode because nobody knows what the rules are. And therefore, it's very easy to think you know the rules when in fact you totally disagree with someone else.
Yeah, interesting. So, well, we'll see what happens with this. It'll be I mean, it's been the big talk for this week as far as like Star Wars news goes. Now, there is another bit of Star Wars news out there. Apparently, Ryan trilogy is still a go. Who was it that said this? I don't have it in front of me.
I read it too. It seemed to be confirmed by a reputable source. And I thought that had, speaking of something that I thought had gone away, I thought,
well, yeah, I think we all did,
away.
Right?
Yeah.
We thought it was because we hadn't heard anything about any movies other than the Rogue Squadron movie coming out next year, I guess it is. We haven't heard anything else. No further trilogies or anything like that. They had announced that before, but no. Yeah. Her name is Soraya Wilson. Soraya Wilson is a USA Today best-selling author, semi-good wife, frazzled mom of four, book lover, pop culture junkie, fangirl. So how would she know is my question.
Did she interview him?
She don't know what I'm just going based on this tweet. I'm just going to this now because I can see that I'm going to get a lot of requests. Yes, Ryan's SW trilogy is still on. No dates or timelines because he has other projects going on, but it is happening in caps. That is all I know about it. 3 smiley emojis. That's it.
He's got to make Knives Out 2 and 3 before he can.
Oh, really? Is that no?
Well,
certainly Knives Out 2.
I think he'll make a sequel. Yeah.
He'll do a second Knives Out movie, but yeah, he's got to come back to this eventually, and I'm excited about it. Again, I like The Last Jedi. I think it's a really visually striking, probably the most visually striking Star Wars film. And other than something, obviously, there's plot issues and the Canto Bight issues, but I like it. I think it's a good movie. I like what it did. I like that it challenged us as an audience, and I like some of the changes he made. It's just unfortunate that Lucasfilm apparently wasn't okay with him making those changes.
Well, I mean, they were okay,
JJ wasn't.
Right. They wouldn't have released the movie if they weren't okay with it. But I still, when I look at that movie, I see good and bad. But just like every one of those sequel movies, I see good and bad when I stare into them. And sometimes I see more good than bad. And sometimes I see more bad than good. But I would be like, if he is making, everybody suggested he was going to make the Broom Boy trilogy. It's the Broom Boy who was inspired by Luke Skywalker and who obviously had Jedi powers based on the last scene. Although it was hard to see in the film, but when he holds out his hand and the broom goes into his hand and he too has the powers. And I think that's a promising way to continue the Star Wars story into the future. but it could also be dangerously close to a young Annie in a pod car flying around going,
I don't think it's gonna be that. I don't think it's gonna be that. And I think again, if that is the case, then the Canto Bite scene makes complete sense, and the reason for it now. But this is why it hurts the movie, because and this happens all the time. It happened in the Marvel movies whenever they're trying to set up stuff for future movies, and put stuff in there. Like Age of Ultron was a good example of that. They tried to cram in too much from other movies, and that hurt the actual film. So and that does happen in the Rise of Skywalker, or sorry, in the Last Jedi. But But yeah, I think that they show these kids who are working in the stable on Canto Bite. One of them has the Force. Let's see where that happens. And maybe it is. I don't know. Do you think this could be like another example of, well, Luke's not around anymore, but Rey's going to start a Jedi Academy? Will this continue with those characters?
I don't think. I think Daisy Ridley is done with Star Wars for 20 years. 20 years or something.
Until they do another reboot.
Well, yeah, like a Mark Hamill kind of story, I think, where you're just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, all things must pass, off we go. And then the offer comes in that's too good to refuse.
Right.
And then I think you sort of you jump on board. And I think I do think we'll see something with them in 20 years. I don't see how we don't. And once again, I think it'll be at that point, young people will be older. And they'll go, this will be a perfect chance to fix everything that went awry on those movies. And everyone will be hopeful and excited. And then they'll be disappointed ultimately when it comes out. That's the cycle. That's the Star Wars release cycle.
Yeah. So then what happens in Ryan's trilogy then? If it is Broom Boy, is it like he's got to become a Jedi somehow, right? Is that got to be what that story is?
Yeah, or maybe he's grown up and he is now leading a new group of Jedi Knights, or something like that. I think it's got to be, and then maybe their story is, if only our leader Rey were somewhere where we could find her. And then in the last movie, in the last scene, she pulls a Luke Skywalker and she just shows up or whatever. And then you're like, oh, what's gonna happen?
Well, that's the reason I asked about Rey, because in the Lego, I don't know, this is not canon, but in the Lego Thanksgiving or holiday special or whatever they did this past season, at the beginning of it, and I remember one person telling me that they thought this was like a good continuation of the Last Skywalker, or because or the Rise of Skywalker. I always mix up those names, because it showed at the beginning of that Rey teaching Finn how to use the Force. Yeah. Right, which is again was something that was never really, they didn't really clarify that in any of the movies, but Finn is a Force user, so they've kind of continued that story. So that's kind of where I was wondering if that would go, is that it would have Rey teaching Finn and therefore teaching other people and starting some kind of academy. That could happen off screen. It could be part of the story, but just not happen on screen.
I mean, that would be some serious fixing of the story. Like everybody agrees, and John Boyega too, that they flubbed that character.
Oh yeah,
I
know.
Each new movie brought with it new expectations, and none of them were ever that satisfying. And then even to the extent of, there's something I want to tell you, Rey, and then they get sucked into the quicksand or whatever. And that's right. It's like, never mind. I'm not going to tell you that thing, because why would anything I do become interesting as part of my arc in this movie? So I just think there's that would not surprise me if in some upcoming thing they fix that. So it turns out that, he was a Jedi all along.
It wasn't a Jedi, but Force sensitive anyway. Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why he could use a lightsaber in the first movie when he was fighting. He could hold his own against Kylo Ren a little bit. At the beginning of that, and that was, but again, the whole point of that, in my opinion, is the fake out. It was all about the fake out with that first movie, because they made us think before the movie came out. They made us think that Finn was the Jedi, and it was Rey. It was Rey the whole time, and that was a deliberate bait and switch. I think they did to surprise us as the movie unfolded.
And by the way, we never did find out what made the Force wake up.
No, we did not.
Never found out.
No. Alarm clock.
There has been an awakening. Yeah. I have felt it. Ooh, what made the Force wake up? Never mind. Could have been lots of things.
Maybe it was the Emperor doing some weird shit over on his planet with all his cult members.
It could have been anything. It could have been the birth of Rey. It could have been Jar Jar Binks' death, for all we know. If it happened, if it happened off camera, it could be whatever. It could be the worst fan fiction you ever imagined. It could be the reason the Force woke up. Yeah.
So if this is true, Ryan's trilogy will be coming out. When, we don't know. Certainly not next year. Maybe a couple years from now. And then this will be the next trilogy to take us into like the next. It'll cover the next decade, basically. You know, they'll do a new movie every couple of years and kind of go forward from there.
I'm also thinking that with COVID, that maybe it'll be the digital release strategy now.
By the time this movie comes out, it'll be both. I think I think theaters will be reopened, but they might do the digital release as well. We'll see. It's.
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Who's stubborn, man?
I think it'll be both.
They really did not want to release Tenet online. Like they did not. They wanted Tenet to be seen in the theater. And by the way, the people who I know who saw it in the theater said the sound was really bad and it was all messed up. I don't know anything about that, but yeah, like Tenet, they were very, very stubbornly not releasing that one on demand. Until
everybody's like, I can't wait for the movie going experience again, but they forgot that people talk through movies. They forgot about how shitty it is when you're actually in the room.
But
I should say how bad it can be.
The COVID, the pandemic movie going experience is actually better because they're spacing you out, so you're not next to anybody. So you have space to watch the movie and not be disturbed by anybody around you. It's really the way they should do this. Though all future theaters should have private pods that we can sit in with our dates or whoever we're going to the movies with, and just have these little.
Dan, that's called home. It's home. That's your pod.
No, but better sound system and better TV than I have. That's what I want.
TVs are cheap these days, man.
Well, they are pretty cheap.
Everything's cheap.
I was like, oh shit, $300 for a giant TV like that? Yeah. That's not bad.
I know. Mine. Meanwhile, I've got this 10,000-pound one in my plasma in my living room that's never gonna die, and that thing costs like $4,000.
Yeah, but it's
it's come on.
You're gonna be one of these people. It's gonna be like on Kijiji in a couple years. It's free if you pick it up. Get it out of my house, please. Because now that's what you see on Kijiji is all these projection. Remember the old projection TVs, those giant projection TVs? There are tons of those that are being given away for free because nobody wants to move them. Anyway.
I was going to put one in my front yard and just show movies on them. Little kids could like...
That'd be fun. Yeah, a little theater.
Oh, yeah. It'd be kind of fun. You could like... everybody in Winnipeg has a hockey rink in their front yard now.
Yeah.
But I was like, a little ice movie theater where you broadcast it on an ice or a snow wall. That would be kind of cool.
I think they're doing that in there's the snow maze outside of town has something like that going on.
I don't want to get stuck in a snow maze with COVID and
I don't either. Anyway,
it's the COVID maze. It's the COVID maze. See if you can get away from the COVID running
without see if you can go through the whole maze without catching the virus. That's the goal.
Right. At the end, there'll be a test.
All this talk about all this talk about Gina Carano and her character being, I guess, written out or however they decide to do it, got me thinking about side characters in the Star Wars universe because there are lots of great side characters and we mention them all the time. And one of the favorite side characters over the years has been Boba Fett, right? That's been like, I would say probably most people, if they had to pick a favorite, minor character or side character, they would say Boba Fett. But Boba Fett is no longer a side character. He is a main character. He has his own show coming out. He is a big kahuna. So now that Boba Fett's gone, what is your favorite side character in Star Wars? Is the question.
Do you have one?
Well, I'm thinking. Okay, so I've got characters from all three trilogies. We're gonna do it that way.
Let's hear it. Go for it.
So first, number one, in the trilogy, my favorite side character has to be Bib Fortuna. I love Bib Fortuna in Jabba's palace. I like the way he talks. I like the way I loved, and this is kind of tying into the Boba Fett series, the fact that he was in charge of Jabba's palace all these years, 30 years after Jabba died, he was in charge. And he was, a little heavier and that kind of stuff, which is great. But I just like that character, and it was always creeped me out as a kid. He doesn't speak English; he speaks something else, but he kind of sounds like English. His language, it's a weird language. I guess so for the original trilogy, it's got to be Bib Fortuna for me. What do you think for you?
I got one.
Okay.
And by the way, he popped into my head right away, Bib Fortuna. But then I remembered there's someone better, and at the risk of having to tell all the old material again, I'm going to zip my mouth shut when I say his name, so I don't repeat the old jokes, but they're so good, and that is Lobot.
I knew you were going to say Lobot. I knew it.
Yeah.
I know it. He's your
I'm not
favorite.
going to say anything else.
He is the best bald character in Star Wars.
He's the best. Easy. Well, Samuel L. Jackson gives him a run.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, I forgot about Sam Jackson. Yeah. That's right. But Lobot is a great side character for sure. He is like. Does he have any lines? I don't think he has any lines.
No, he speaks through the medium of lobotomy.
whatever the thing is on his head.
His lobotomy does the talking for him. Let's put it that way.
What were they thinking about when they named him? Were they like Lobot, like lobotomy? That's what they were going for?
Yes, it is one of the rudest named Star Wars characters. Named after the fact he got a lobotomy. And I'm sure there's a real good backstory there to explore in a prequel. But I just like it, and I love that moment where Lando does the keypad thing, and then Lobot's ears light up.
Yeah. Well, that's what
I love that.
They're putting the planet in place to save them, to rescue Han and Leia, and Leia and Chewie and the droids. You need Lobot to do that. Lobot you can't accomplish that mission without Lobot. So that's a great character. What about for the prequels? What's your favorite side character for the prequels?
I have an idea, but you go first, just in case. I don't want to steal it.
I know. Well, I think you're going to say mine, and that is Captain Panaka.
You go first.
Captain Panaka.
Oh. I was going to say that as a joke.
Yeah. Well, no, he's funny, because he's like always, and you pointed those out many times. He is the naysayer in the Star Wars universe. He never. It's always a bad idea, right?
Yeah, it's all bad. I don't agree with the Jedi Knight. We can't overpower them. This is impossible. Like, he just stands around shooting out those negatives. And you don't hear too many people talking about that, but he is a real negative Nelly, that guy.
Now, here's an interesting, I'm looking at a website called whatculture.com, and this has got a listicle about actors that were turned down roles in Star Wars. And they've got him listed here, and I didn't know this, but apparently his character was going to be in the second movie in episode 2. But conflict arose between the actor and producers, and his name's Hugh Corshi, the name of the actor who plays Captain Panaka. And his character was completely written out and replaced with a new one, Security Captain Typho. I don't remember him.
He had that thing, the eye patch.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay. So that was supposed to be Captain Panaka in the second one.
Right.
The controversy arose when Corshi was denied access to the full script, which seems like a standard like Star Wars thing, right? Especially for that guy. Yeah. He's only got a couple lines. He doesn't need to see the full script. And they're very, very protective.
He's a naysayer in real life too. I cannot do my lines without the full script. What do you want me to do? I need the full script. That was him.
Clearly, it was decided the role was not crucial enough or to recast or give in to the actor's demands, and neither Panaka nor Corshi were ever seen again.
Ever
again. He was done. So there you go. There's an example of a character that was abandoned. There you go. But also one of our favorite side characters in that prequel trilogy.
I'm just trying to think, is there anybody else in the prequel trilogy?
Oh, I'm sure there are lots of other ones. I mean, Watto is a great character as well, right? Although racist, people see this racist. We know from the actor that was not the intent. It was supposed to be an Italian accent, not a Jewish accent.
Lobster.
He's supposed to be like an Italian, like, hey, what's? Oh, well, that's probably offensive to Italian people, but at least it's not racist or anti-Semitic. I had a student do an ad in the worst like Italian stereotype thing you'd ever seen. It was so bad. Oh man. Anyway, sorry. I probably cut that out. Probably shouldn't complain.
That's why I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I tried to give you some space on either side so you could cook.
What else? Okay, how about characters from the new trilogy? This is difficult for me because it's a little bit more. I think the new trilogy is a little more of an ensemble than the. The original ones were an ensemble, but it was basically Han, Leia, and Luke were the three characters. There's more main characters in this one, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough to find a side character in the latest trilogy. I'm thinking pretty hard right now. How about you? I'm
I'm
trying to think
going-
of character design too.
Oh, I guess so. I was gonna go with just Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley. But I mean, he doesn't do much. He's just there because he's friends with JJ.
I like Hux a lot in the first film.
Hux is great, but
And
is that a side character? He's a pretty big villain, right?
Yeah, but then ultimately they kind of squander his role too. Certainly not Phasma. That's one of the lost.
There's another abandoned character, right? Now they're coming to us, right? All these abandoned characters, Phasma. They never did anything with her.
No, not a thing.
Oh, I got it. I have mine. Okay, I should have thought of this. I had to look it up to remind myself.
C-3PO's red arm.
No, it's Max von Sydow, Laura Santeca.
Yes.
That's one of the best scenes in the whole trilogy. That opening scene where he goes there and he's like, she'll always be a princess to me. And it's like a 5-minute thing, but he's so good. And the way he speaks, you want to know more about that character and where he comes from. And I think we do find out more in the comics or something like that. But there was a good side character from the new trilogy. That's
a great one. Yeah, that's a great choice. Great choice. Yeah, for the acting alone, for the actor and acting alone, that's great. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other ones in there. I'm trying to think of the action figures that I looked at and I thought this is cool. Like there's some like that, but there's
Babu Frick is probably the best character to come out of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I'd agree. But I think this has been pointed out before, but I think Baby Yoda stole Babu's thunder. I think they designed Babu and they're like, this is gold. This is good. They're gonna sell like hotcakes. This guy, get ready. Hey, Kenner, crank out like 10,000 action figures. And then Baby Yoda showed up and just stepped on it. It's like, oh, yeah? You think you're going to be the popular cute baby in town? I don't think so.
Babu Frick isn't a baby, but he's small.
Why is his name Baby Frick?
But he's small. He speaks in a cute voice. How about this one? How about Dr. Colonia? This is the doctor that's the doctor that comforts Chewbacca when he gets his arm fixed. When he's getting his arm treated, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds very, very dada." Whatever she says. There you go. There's a side character.
She's great. She's in Downton Abbey. She's in everything.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, she's in everything.
Cool.
If it's a British production, she is in it. I guarantee you, she's in everything. I've seen her probably in 10 shows since then.
And then if we're gonna go to since we kind of picked one out from The Force Awakens and from Rise of Skywalker, or from Rise of Skywalker, what's a good one from Last Jedi?
Which one is Dexter Jetster? And I'm just kidding. Dexter Jetster.
Let's see here. How about Tali? Go ahead.
I know who.
Who?
The little leprechaun played by Mark Hamill, voiced by Mark Hamill. The leprechaun.
Is that what that? Did he voice that? Oh, it is. It's got him here. Dobu Skay. Yeah. Dabu Skay. Oh, interesting.
For no reason. He's the Lucky Charms mascot.
Well, he thinks that BB-8 is a slot machine.
Yes, and he's drunk. He's a little drunk leprechaun.
I didn't know that was Mark Hamill. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a pointless character, but I enjoy it. And I definitely don't like DJ as a side character. Once again, there's a character that just went away.
Yeah.
He just was like, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. All I know is I got my money. Bye. And he leaves and he never came back.
No, never saw him again.
He didn't get a comeuppance.
Or even Justin Theroux, the guy they were originally going to get. Like I was kind of excited about Justin. I like Justin Theroux. He's a good actor. He's been in some great stuff. And again, just one line and he's gone. That was it. It was all JJ just bringing back his friends to be in his movie. Oh, no, that wasn't a JJ movie. Never mind. That wasn't JJ.
No, but how about the whole DJ? Look, the ships are made by the same arms manufacturer. Look what I discovered. Then they're just kind of like shrug and go, okay, send us 10,000 more X-Wing fighters.
Yeah, we're not going to deal with that right now.
Yeah. So that was talk about a letdown.
A lot of threads there that were not picked up in the next film for sure. All right, well, I think that's all I've got as far as side characters, but I would like to invite our listeners to submit their favorite side characters. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say next week, I'm thinking about something that we should talk about next week. And I just wanted to tease it now. And that is, I have got a room full of Star Wars stuff, and I've been looking at it, and I've been thinking, what if I were to like sell some of it? Not all of it. I'm going to keep some. But what if I were to like kind of create some more room for myself? What would I sell? What should I sell? What should I keep? What does a Star Wars collector do when they have a little too much in the room? So I just wanted to tease that idea, and and maybe there's some folks who want to buy some of my collection, in which case I am open to offers. But maybe there's people who were in the same position as me, and who are and my friend with the Yoda room is the same as me, where he's like, I don't know, do I need all of this? Couldn't I just keep a few of these things and still be the ultimate Star Wars fan?
I think that speaks to the larger kind of collecting in that, and everyone I've talked to who collects things, and I've talked to quite a few over the last year, say that the real thrill is in the hunt. That is when you really like that. It's all about finding and picking up these things. Keeping them is almost secondary, right? Okay, yeah, you have it, and yes, everyone has like a prized possession, and I'm sure that you're not going to be selling like blue snaggletooth or anything like that.
No,
but you know, like there are things that, you know, you're excited when you get them, but then it just kind of wears off, and you're like, I'm not gonna bother with that.
But it also, as you get older, it occurs to you that, the old saying, you can't take it with you, right? Like, so someone's going to get this stuff at some point. And
you've got no children. You have no children to leave your legacy to.
Wouldn't it? Well, they'd wreck it all anyway. But wouldn't you?
This is why I can't have a Star Wars toys collection.
No, wreck it. Wouldn't you rather somebody who really cherishes this stuff had it,
sure,
likes it, instead of somebody who's just trying to make a buck on eBay?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, you would want to give it to somebody. You want to sell it to somebody who would really love to get those things, right?
Right. And that's just it. Like you said, I wouldn't sell my blue snaggletooth. I probably wouldn't. And all those classic, I've got the complete set of classic loose figures, but with all the parts.
Right.
I don't know if somebody made me an offer and and I was like, wow, that's a generous offer, I would consider it. That's the thing. That's always the thing, right? Where you kind of go, well, I'm not always going to live in a 2-story house, probably, and so you sort of look around and kind of go, well, boy, like when you have a 2-story house, it fills up with stuff pretty fast.
Well, let me think. Put it this way: you have right now a room dedicated to your Star Wars toys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a room. It's a full room in your house, full of toys.
Yes, it's too much.
And I mean,
so that's what, yeah.
I've got a couple
of shelves. You got a green screen behind you.
I've got a green screen, but I've also got this shelf here, and I'm starting to collect. This is how I collect things. I'm starting to collect dollar store Funko Pops. So I've got my Baby Yoda, but I've also got these Funko Pops that are $4 at the dollar store when you go there. These are the ones that are not popular enough to sell the regular price. So I've got John Cena. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's John Cena, right? I bought it for Luke. I thought Luke started to like Funkos as well, so I bought this for Luke, and then he said he didn't want it. And then I've got again, that's
what kids do.
Yeah. Well, this is all my leftover toys. They're all like, he didn't want Baby Yoda either. I've got this one, which from a distance looks like C-3PO, but it's actually a Spider-Man. It's one of these gold Funkos, special release. I like that. It's supposed to be from Infinity War, the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War, but it's also bobblehead. Cool. You can see.
Love it.
And then the other one I have here is, and again, I just go to the dollar store and look in the toy section. If there's a Funko there, I'll buy it if it's something I like. I'm not buying, for example, there was one from Overwatch. I don't know what Overwatch is. I don't play that game, so I didn't buy it. But this is Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four.
That's great.
And it might be relevant. It might be relevant to WandaVision viewers. So who knows if this actually becomes more popular again because of WandaVision.
Is he supposed to be in it or what?
I've heard rumors. Yeah, I've heard rumors that there's one part where the girl is talking about the physicist or some kind of astrophysicist. People think that might be Reed Richards, and they're saying that it's going to be played by John Krasinski. So that could be Jim Halpert as Reed Richards. I don't know. Anyway, this
is a very odd turn of events.
Well, the thing about WandaVision, I guess we can bleed into it a little bit in this because it's all Disney. But the thing about WandaVision is that I've never seen people dissect it more. I don't think of seeing a show come along in a long time. I guess the Mandalorian might have happened kind of similar, but the conversation every week is like, what's going on? Where are all the Easter eggs? Where are all the little nods and that kind of stuff? And people are really like digging into WandaVision. Like there's so many different aspects to it that it's just become huge. People are loving that show.
Yeah.
So
no, anyway. For sure, and I enjoy it too. But I had not heard that, and I didn't even pick up the reference.
I mean, I'm not really speculating too much. I'm just trying to enjoy it. Like there's all kinds of places they could go within the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And I don't know a ton about
for sure.
The Scarlet Witch or Vision. It's like I did not collect the Avengers when I was a kid, so I didn't really read those comics. But I just know that she is like in the comic book, she is Magneto's daughter. And her twin brother is what's his face? Quicksilver. Yeah, right. I know. That's pretty much it.
Wow. Well, we veered right off of Star Wars right into and maybe one day you'll find a bunch of Cara Dune Funko Pops at the dollar store.
Oh, I bet you I will. And I will buy one and I'll bring it onto the podcast and I'll show you when I get it. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's totally.
If you see them, what I would suggest is buy a few of them because I think that's going to be eBay time.
Well, I don't
to sell.
See, I don't know that it's going to make its way down to eBay or to the dollar store because I think savvy collectors will pick those up. But the dollar store really gets the dregs. It really gets like the ones that people don't want. In fact, one thing I wish I'd bought at the time, I did, but I didn't, was a character from Rogue One, Jyn Erso. It was a figure. Yeah. It was like this big. It was like a size of a Barbie doll, and it was a Jyn Erso figure at the dollar store for $4. I should have bought it, but I didn't. That's kind of where all the toys go to die is the dollar store toy department. So you want to give them new life, right? Now they can come to life in my home, and just like in Toy Story, and they can play together. They play with Baby Yoda over there when I'm not around. So
they guard your house.
Yeah. There we go, John.
Very nice. Love it.
And then this was knocked down. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, and then the cat likes to go over and knock those off the shelf as well. The cat loves doing that, so she'll have some fun with that.
Oh, that's great.
All right, are we gonna wrap things up? I gotta go get my son. All right.
Yeah, I knew. I was looking at the clock, going, you gotta go.
I gotta go get checked. That's gonna do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vedabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
TK421, you copy?
Now I am the master.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?